You feel betrayed by the Democratic Party, you are angry at the Democratic Party, but listen to me very clearly because I criticize the Democrats. Not only criticize, I hold them accountable. Why? Because they are our side. They should be fighting for us. Yet, I know people who switched over to the Republican side. The only reason being they at least get things done. That's ridiculous. Because you know what? You're giving your soul up. Not only is being a Republican unethical, because think about it. Why did MAGA ranchers vote for King Mango? Do you think it's because they thought he was going to deport their workers? No. They thought he was going to put them in detention camps and give them right back for what? Illegal slavery. Why? Because they would pay them less. They'll have a workforce that they don't have to pay at minimum wage. They only voted for King Mango because they knew they would have legal slaves. Two, it's unpatriotic. Why? Look at the 7 core principles of conservatism that is on the Mike Johnson website. You look at that, you look at our social contract, and you'll see that it is misaligned. A position that our common defense is the first most important government principle that there is. Yet you look at the preamble, it is not the first, it is not the second, it is not the third, but it is the fourth. So it's all just lying all across their principles. And of course, a lot of the Republican voters don't actually compare and contrast from our American constitutionalism and the Republican principles. So they just accept that as reality. But when you look at it, Republicans want Articles of Confederation. They don't want the Constitution. They believe it is too progressive. 5. Republicans are not about solutions. They are not about resolve. They are about what? Sabotage. They say, hey, arms don't unalive kids. It is mental health. But when you tell them to champion mental health, they say it costs too much. So what do you want? Arm regulations, which is protected under the Constitution? Or do you want mental health? They don't want mental health because they want to fund what? Elon Musk little tech projects and also foreign policy, right? Particularly defense and the military. 6, they believe that the people are a means to a government end. That means that we are what oils up their profits. We are what oils up the resources and networks that they get in order to do what? Lawful stock trading? But in reality, government is a means to an end. What is that? A social end. That is the public good. So it's reverse. It's reverse. The reality is that government does not have money. It is the people's money. Government would not exist without the people. America would not exist without the people. America can exist without the government. So the Republican Party is pretty much a demon party where they give you some economic prosperity kind of incentives, but in reality, when you look at them, they're only benefiting a certain population of the Republican Party, of Americans in general, and that is the wealthy. Why do you think that Mango has all of those oligarchs in his corner? Because he knows that he's going to benefit their end goal, their maximum advantage. But that maximum advantage will come at the sacrifice of you. That is the Republican Party. The Republican Party is not for the people. It is for the concentration of the wealth within the few. But that's the thing. Ask yourself, why is it that America is so wealthy, yet over 78% of the population lives paycheck to paycheck? He said he was going to create jobs, and then he started gutting all of these programs, which led to what? Getting laid off, getting fired from your job, right? He said he was going to do freedom of speech, yet we know from our social medias that the algorithm has changed to where the voices on a certain side is much more repressed than the other side. So you do not go to the Republican Party. You can go to the Independent. You can go to no party, which is what I'm at. And you may ask yourself, hey, if I go to Independent, I won't be able to vote in the primaries. And congratulations to you. We're in a tyranny. You won't get to vote in a primary anyways. So don't sell your soul to obey in advance just for a party, just because you feel betrayed by the other party. Because the reason why that party betrayed us is because the other party is so much more of a demon. So you can be angry at the Democratic Party, but that should never result in you going to the right. That is treason, ethical treason. Rather, what I want this video to focus on is in the comments providing constructive feedback to the Democratic Party. Particularly what fixes would have to be done for you to feel like they have restored confidence in the party so that you have confidence in the party as well, so that you can be a proud member of the party, because I wouldn't be a proud member of the party right now. It is an absolute betrayal. Things that I've thought of is the fact that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, should vet candidates for the DNC chair, but that the Democratic voters should be the ones to choose them. So it's a democratic choice. 2, rank voting for when it comes to candidates for presidency. So in case one drops out, the next ranked one would be the one to be positioned, which means that it is democratically chosen. 3, establish standards for the damn party, okay? Because there's so many Trojan horses who say they are Democrat but just go in order to win because they know that people will vote for blue no matter who, you know? So they go and they're actually Republicans, but the Democratic Party should be the ones vetting them. But why vet them when they have the money to do it? When in this reality, if I'm a congressman and I promise that I'm going to build 4 affordable housings in my district, and by the end of my term, I do not do this, then I should not be allowed to run as a Democrat again. We have to have high standards so that actually people who achieve what they say are going to be in. And if you cannot achieve what you want to achieve, then don't promise it. 4, I believe that the Democratic voters should be capable of having a sort of emergency executive action that allows for the voters to force in certain concerns into the Democratic agenda, even last minute, as long as it meets a threshold. Because what happens is that things occur and then the party can just ignore it because it's like next election, but it's urgent for a lot of people. So we require a channel in which we can actually force them to change up their agenda in order to adhere to what's concerning us in the now. 5, don't just focus on the blue areas, because this is a problem with the Democratic Party to where they do not want to fund into red zones. Why? I guess because there's not enough voters there. I don't really know why, but this is the problem, because then those candidates cannot run because they don't have the funding, because the Democratic Party doesn't want to fund them because they're funding other campaigns elsewhere where they prioritize, right? But what this creates is a classes dichotomy where you're funding all of these places, let's say in the cities, but you're not funding these rural towns. This creates that rivalry of city versus country, right? Which is artificial because it's not created through us. It's actually a artificial hierarchy of what's worth investing in and not, and that's problematic. And 6, get behind constitutional changes. Once we survive this, the Democratic Party should be behind constitutional reform, including ending corporate personhood, not just ending Citizens United, because even if we end Citizens United, corporate personhood is still a thing. So Citizens United 2.0 can happen. We have to codify that they're not persons. 2, judicial reform and judicial immunity, because at that point they just make decisions based on their own interpretations away from the text because they don't have any actual ramifications, and the consequences of that we experience now. It's why we're here, right? And 3, I would say that there should be a campaign to make we the people into, at the bare minimum, a silent branch in the United States Constitution. Because ask yourself, who checks Congress? You'll say the courts. The courts can kind of do something, but they cannot remove them. It has to be the people. But we can only remove them when it's election time. Why? Because we're not actually a branch. We're not actually codified into the Constitution. So in reality, there's no checks and balances against Congress. We need to fix that. All right? So these are some ideas that I have. Put your ideas down below as to what would restore faith in the Democratic Party. And remember, do not go red. Do not go Republican. Do not. All right? I know it's tempting, but don't. You're turning your back not just on your community, not just on America, but on a legacy, because that is the wrong side of history.